terms of actual Saab production models, this is where it all started. 92, around 1950. I saw one of these in Stockholm on what was it, Saturday or Sunday, in a parade driving down the street. It looked exactly like this. Any colour you want as long as it's surplus green. This is a 1966 Saab 96. The big news for 1966 was a reduced oil mixture going into it and triple carbs available on some models that lifted the horsepower up to an absolutely monstrous 42 brake horsepower. Other than that, there's not a heck of a lot of interest in this particular car on its own, but there is something about it that does make it interesting, and it's parked right behind it. Parked here behind that 96 is the Pattern, the Toad, because this was the same body as a 96 but with a 20 centimetre section inserted down the middle. They cut the car down the middle, inserted a 20 centimetre section down there, and underneath that body shell was the chassis, etc., of a Saab 99. So this was the car that they used to basically test the 99 in secret and try and keep it away from the press. And eventually the press saw the Pattern and a 96 together and clicked, although having a look at it, I'm not sure if you were familiar with the 96 how you could have missed it, but nonetheless they did use that ploy for a while. Actually, I think the proportions on it look really good. I wouldn't have minded if they'd brought a model out of that size. We'll take a look at the interior in a second. You'll see there's heaps of shoulder room compared to a 96. This is the interior of the Pattern, or the Toad. You can see standard 96 interior with a widened dash and a uncharacteristically large gap between the seats. Plenty of shoulder room here. Now these are the two prototypes that were submitted for the 900 convertible. When Saab said they wanted a 900 convertible, there were two companies that submitted what they thought would be good for it. And I think the one on the left is of course the one that eventually won the contract, but the one on the right features sort of a Targa top type setup. I think Saab chose the right way. And there's a side profile there of the Targa version of the 900 convertible. As you can see, everything else is pretty standard 900 convertible. It's just that Targa area on the back that's quite different. Some 900 turbo convertible embossing. Of course, one of the advantages of the Targa top, if they had have gone with it, was that they could mount some speakers in there, which they have done on this one. From those 900 convertible prototypes, of course, this is what became. You've got the 900 convertible in front there, the classic iconic Saab convertible, and the next generation behind that, and then celebrating the 20th anniversary we've got an anniversary version right at the back there, which I'm becoming familiar with this week, which is nice. It's a diesel version, which is not as nice, but I don't complain. There's the 20th anniversary version from the rear, and might be of interest to some people that the anniversary version of the convertible in the museum is a diesel. There you go. There's a 1964 model Saab 96. They had a black 93F in here yesterday when I was here. The one thing I really liked about it, you can see it here, this one's got black. The piping along the panels there. black 93F that they had yesterday had red piping on there, and man, it looked special. It looked really good. Bring it back, I say. How would you think a black 93 would look with some red trim along the edge of the bonnet? I'm thinking black turbo. I'm thinking very menacing with some special red trim. I think I'm going to go and have to find that 93F so you know what I'm talking about. This right here is actually very, very similar to the first Saab I ever owned. 1972 Saab 99. Mine was a Saab 99E with an automatic. It was as slow as a wet week, but gee, it was fun. Mine had a red interior rather than the black interior that's on this one. The same funky seats and the exact same dash layout. Man, that's cool. This is probably the most neglected car in Saab's history. Not this particular one, I'm talking about the model in general. And not a lot gets said about the 95 wagon. So you go, Drew, especially for you. There's a 95 wagon in poo brown. Looking very clean. There, right there is the last Saab 96 to come off the production line. You can see the production number of the car there, 730,607. They made this one in January 1980 and it was driven by Eric Carlson from the factory in Finland where it was made, straight here to the museum, which is where it's been since. This is inside the 96. I'm not sure how far it is from Finland to Trollhättan, from Nystad in Finland to Trollhättan, but if it's 1,325 kilometres, well then it's right on the money. Although it's probably done a little bit back and forth to the garage, etc. There's the rest of the interior of the last 96. And if you remember back to the pattern, the toad, the gap between the seats, there's the difference. You've got two seatbelt clips bunged up one against one another, whereas in the toad there was a good 6 inches gap in there. Here's the sonnet section over here, all in beautiful primary colours. And of course they're all interesting, but the one of particular interest amongst these is the one right in the front corner there, Katarina. Let's go and take a closer look. And this of course is the Big Daddy, the original Saab Sonnet. Only 6 of them made. 2 of them are on display here in the factory. There's this blue one and there's a white one out in the foyer as well. There's a couple in the United States and one that was owned by a doctor in Germany, although I'm not sure if he's still got that one. I did hear recently, even though he's just written a book about it, I did hear recently from somewhere that he was selling or has sold it, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But that's just a beautiful body shape. I could actually drive this one and feel almost at home. The steering wheel on that side, though the gear change being on the right like that might be a little bit awkward. Katarina was the prototype developed by Sixten Sassen when Saab decided that they did want to go ahead and build a small sports car. The Sassen's design featured a rear end on the car that was similar to the scoop type section on the original Sonnet. It's a great body shape. It's a real show. First time I saw it I thought, gee, that's the one they should have built, but I'm a lot more partial to the Sonnet 2 now. I think they make the right decision. But it's still a very nice body shape. I can bring that back too. This is the inside of Katarina. You can see it's got the basic Saab 96 tile dash. Small little Sonnet seats. Not much of a back behind it. It's also got like a Targa roof. I believe that can lift out. This of course is the design that beat out Catarina for the Sonnet Mark II, and it is a better looking car overall, classic shape. There's a surprisingly small number of these made compared with the Sonnet 3, and so I think, well, that recent eBay sale shows that they're probably starting to rise in value for a good condition one. Very hard to find, but a beautiful sports Saab. I'm not sure if I've been spelling it wrong all these years, or it's probably a Swedish thing, or maybe someone stole the T. I don't know. We'll find out. And finally, the Sonnet 3 in beautiful bright yellow. I really like the grab handle for the door. Bring that back. Of course, a bit more modern version, but bring it back. Bring back a lot of this. The bulging fuel cap. Bring that back. This is Saab 900 Turbo S that's just been brought in while we were filming some other stuff. That's why it's still got its hood open. They must have been cleaning up something there. But one thing they didn't clean up is the bird droppings on the hood. Drew Bedell would be having a fit right now. Bird droppings on this car. They're parking these things under trees. And this is the 93X, which is probably a bit more of a realistic production than the 9X, which was just incredibly radical. They're fairly similar in basis, but the 93X was probably rooted a bit more in reality and practicality, whereas this anyway, behind the 93X we have the 93 Sport Hatch concept, which, as you can obviously see, has all the DNA of the 93 Sport Combi that we have with us today. Now I know we're going to see some exceptionally clean cars over the weekend, but I don't think we're going to see anything quite like these. They've got a couple of competition cars here. This is one that I've never seen before. So I don't know what its claim to fame is that it's here, or if it's just a competition thing. Although according to the window, it was driven by Björk. I didn't know she drove that well. She's a freaky woman. And this is inside the Björkmobile. Fairly stripped out, as competition cars are. And still got that Saab shape on the dash. Even the SID's still sort of there, but not. Then we got Per Eklund's Saab 96. They squeezed about 200 horsepower out of this little beastie. Big bit of engine work here. We've also got the lime yellow Saab 93 convertible, which I think is probably here to signify the start of this generation of convertibles. Got the anniversary one that we saw earlier. This one's probably here to represent the first of that generation, new gen. This is the actual concept car that was shown at the Frankfurt Motor Show back in the 70s. The very first Saab 99 Turbo, which started a whole generation of 900 turbos that people came to associate as the their first recollection of Saab, most likely. But it all started with this, and this is the first car that they showed. It's just beautiful. The paint colour, I don't know if the paint finish is going to turn up on this film, but it's sort of a pearlescent with a touch of gold to it, and it's just magnificent. This is the interior of that 99 Turbo. It's an interior that never went into production. It's leather with this special V pattern on the seats. It's unusual to say the least. I don't know if you can see it here, but there's actually a tear in the backrest of the driver's seat at the base there. A little tear there. It's weathered a little bit with age. The rest of it looks pretty normal to a 99 owner's eyes. A little detail that's just been pointed out to me, which is quite curious. It's this 99 EMS badge. The only problem is it's not a 99 EMS. It's that same 99 Turbo. See that? Turbo, EMS, Turbo, EMS. You feeling sick yet? Turbo, EMS. The other thing that's funny about this car is the gap in the wheel arch. You fit just about a full set of Encyclopedia Britannicas in there. Could do with a lowering kit. And there, right here is a cutaway engine from the 99 Turbo. This really did start a revolution for turbocharging. In terms of mass production turbocharging, there were companies that tried it earlier than Saab and failed on a mass production basis. They were trying to boost the car too much, but Saab got the technology right and of course benefited from it. This is where it all started, right here. You have the hot air, the cold air. Away you go. That's the technical version of how it works. But that is the engine. Of course, this is this looks like any old 93 sedan, but I guess it's here for the reason marking the first use of the V6 engine, the twin exhaust pipes at the back there, which I guess is a significant enough reason to have one in here. The same reason, just behind it, we also have a facelifted 9.5. It's just not just that, it's biopower wagon. So it's biopower up on the side of it there. Of course, biopower is the new big deal at Saab. And here we have the car that launched 10,000 words on my website. This is the biopower hybrid concept. Electric drive and biopower engine. And of course the big controversial thing was this little badge right here. Because word has it that on the initial release of this car, that badge housed a plug, or covered up a plug. As you can see, badge is well and truly fixed in place. It doesn't twist, it doesn't pull. So that's been well and truly glued on. And Bob Lutz, if that's your fault, you're a mongrel. The rest of it's base 9.3, but what we can't see is all the electrical componentry, which I assume is hidden there. Maybe some in the front too.